Welcome back to Clarity Convos for Wedding Pros podcast. I'm your host, Aislinn, and today we have a very special episode. I'm so excited to have another guest on the podcast. So today we have Maureen. She is going to be talking about content creation. She is a content creation coach, and she is the founder of Maureen's Marketing. Maureen, if you want to go ahead and say hi and hello and who you are, all the good things.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I'm so excited to help everyone. I've worked with wedding industry experts before in the past with helping them set up their content automation system. It's an amazing industry to be in. My mom works as a wedding photographer as well, so helping her do her content behind the scenes is always fun for me. But when you have that automation set up and you're able to post 100 videos a month or maybe just 50 videos or 10 videos a month, right, you're able to make so much more profit in your business. So I'm really excited to reveal how I create so much content for my business and then how that turns directly into income. Because I know a lot of people that work in the wedding planning industry or the wedding photography industry or any of that industry, they don't know where to get started when it comes to posting more than 10 videos. And then if they do post 10 videos, they post 10 videos that have no direction. And then they wonder why they're not signing clients organically. So I'm excited to tackle content and then also the revenue side of turning that content into clients.
I love that so much. And we have people who listen to this podcast, and I have clients who are in the wedding industry. And then I also have people who are coaches and creatives and business owners who have some kind of artistic leaning. And so it's so cool to have you here talking about this, because I know for me, one of the coolest things that I've done for content is to start to streamline it so that it actually has a purpose. It actually has a channel that it is going towards, instead of just being reinventing the wheel every single time I create a new piece of content. So I know you have lots and lots to talk about with that.
Yes, for sure. No, I'm really excited.
So I think the very first thing I kind of just want to dive into is what is your background? Because if you guys have never talked to Maureen before, or you don't follow her, which you totally should. If you guys haven't ever interacted with her before, Maureen, you're 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Okay, so I'm 31. I started my business when I was 16 years old. So I very distinctly remember the season of life that you're in. And it's so freaking cool to watch you just go, go, go. So I would love to hear more about your story. If you could please share that with the audience.
Yeah, for sure. So in high school, I launched my first business and I was selling organic cosmetics. So I had so many health issues and I felt like I couldn't find anything that was super natural. So I launched a skincare company in high school. And then when school went online, I started to realize these teachers are teaching us how to run a business, or I was in finance classes and entrepreneurship classes, and I was learning from teachers that had never run a business before. And I started to realize, wait a second, these teachers are getting paid what, $50,000 a year, and they're trying to show you how to run a 6-figure business. This doesn't make sense. So I would do my Zoom classes. I got the A's in all the classes because I was that student, but then I would mute my Zoom class, and then I was just packaging orders. I was scaling that company, and then I generated so many orders on Etsy for my first business that I got banned because I was under the age of 18 at the time. So when my friends were, getting fake IDs to go drink, I was using my parents' IDs to impersonate my identity on Etsy to be a different person. That way I could get my business back up and running. And then I moved over to Shopify. And through that whole process, I realized I really love social media marketing. I was really good at generating orders using social media. So I kept running that business, and then I landed a job doing photography at a polo club. And then I worked at a magazine and also a winery, helping them with their social media marketing. And then I landed a job at a tech startup. This was all in the summer after high school. And landing all these jobs, I was just oh my goodness. It's crazy the power of social media, because when I was working at the Polo Club, they were selling multi-$1,000 tickets to get people in, and we were generating those sales off social media. So through those jobs, I landed a job at a hippie wellness company, helping them with their social media marketing. And then I was working so many jobs, and I've always loved the idea of turning your life into a board game and treating it like Monopoly, and how many times can I pass go? How many jobs can I work at the same time? But then I was what if I just launched my own business and helped my own clients? But before I did that, I applied for a 9-to-5, and I got offered it at the age of 18 with the health benefits, and it was a good salary, but I turned that down. Everyone thought I was crazy because they're you just turn that down. And then I told everyone I'm skipping college and I'm going to go all in on my own marketing agency, and I'm going to help business owners generate sales from social media. So I launched that. I moved into a barn loft. I was working like 15 hours a day. I was in a minimalism phase too, and I didn't have much furniture on purpose. So it was like me, my laptop, and a barn loft and a raccoon in the wall, which was fun. And then month 4 hit and my sales just exploded. And then month 5 hit and I hit my first $14,000 month at 18. And I was just like, this is crazy, the power of social media. So now I'm just lit up of like helping as many people as possible generate those sales. Cause I mean, that was 2 years ago that all that happened. And since then it's grown exponentially. And now some people might recognize me from the rejection therapy videos. I'm huge on just do crazy things in your life, set delusional goals, and then make them happen. Like, why can't you run a 6-figure company at 20? Like, do it. And then you go make it happen. So that's my story.
I love that so much. And like you and I have known each other for about a year, maybe a year and a half
Mm-hmm.
now. And it's
Mm-hmm.
been really incredible to watch your growth explode even more because you've
Mm-hmm.
always been like this go-getter, this like doer. But to like watch like what you've done in the past year has been so, so incredible. So can you kind of talk about like what you've done in the past year that's like really exploded your growth?
Yeah. So in the past year, I actually like really doubled down on the content creation side of things. So YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram is my approach to my personal brand. And I realized that if I could duplicate myself online, I would be able to make more income, right? So I kind of view it as I'm my own free employee. So the more I can capture my message, throw it onto my phone screen, and then get that into the internet, the more income I can make when I'm sleeping. So I also sell digital books. So those generate sales almost every single day. And it's just crazy to wake up and you see new client applied to work with you. And then you get like 5 new notifications, like 5 new clients applied to work with you. And it's all because of the content creation. So with my personal brand, what I basically did was I just doubled down on what works. So over the last year, no, over the last multiple years, I posted over 1,500 videos on the internet. And through that process, now I know how to manufacture a series that goes viral. Like I know confidently I could make something that gets 1 million views. And now it's really just looking at, well, how many clients do I want? Now I turn clients away, which is a good problem to have considering I'm a coach that helps people sign clients. So it's good I'm always booked out with people, but it really just came down to the personal brand side of it because I can confidently say that I could stop posting content today for the next probably 5 years and I'd still have clients applying to work with me over the next 5 years just based on referrals, and the videos just continue to bring in new people. So any business owner that's not posting content on a daily basis is missing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars of potential revenue.
Yeah, and it's so funny that you say that, like, you could stop posting and still be getting clients.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been a wedding photographer for over 2 years, and I still get inquiries. I still get people who are like, "Hey, like, would you fly to Georgia to, like, photograph my wedding?" And I'm like, "If you wanna pay me $20,000 and buy me equipment, sure, but no." Like, I I think that's the power of a personal brand. It's the power of like, you know, utilizing social media and utilizing your personal brand in ways that are really engaging with people
Mm-hmm.
that like has this power to like go beyond just in the moment posting. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that you talk about that. Like you could just stop right now and you would still be fine because there is something incredibly beautiful about being able to have not having that pressure, like
Mm-hmm.
not having that pressure of having to post and not having that pressure of like, oh, in order for me to make a sale today, I have to post. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it gets to be fun the way that we're doing it. And especially the way that you're doing it, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I could make like sales in my sleep and not post for another month because it's already batched out, basically.
Yep. It just runs on automation. It is really just a game. Like I set up my entire life like a game. Like I have my wall calendar that's 3 times the size of me over there with my content schedule on it. And I just look at that and I'm like, I mean, I've said this before on other podcasts, but honestly, if I got hit by a car tomorrow, nobody would know for a good 6 months because I've got so much content batch created, scheduled, and ready to go out that like the YouTube channel would keep going. I'd still be generating sales. I don't know what happens to a business though. Like, I mean, let's say you do die. Like, what happens to all those sales? Like, they just keep coming in. I'm like, I mean, that's the power of a personal brand.
Yeah, I don't know. I like when I was a wedding photographer, we had backups for in case anything ever happened to me. Like, and like I literally had like a system of like if something happened to me, like my husband could get into the system. So
Uh-huh.
like I don't know, this might be something that you need to set up as like your backup basically.
Yeah, no, it is so great when you have content batch created because you can finally breathe. Because for the first year in my business, I wasn't sure how to post 100 videos a month or how to post content every single day easily. And it was taking so much time. Now I can literally, like, for example, on this podcast, let's say I hadn't posted content today. I already did, but let's say I hadn't. And this is a great tip for anyone in like any industry that needs more content. I would just literally pick up my phone and just hit record, throw it like on that pile of books over there and just film myself yapping on a Zoom call. And then I just splice that into 8 clips. And then that's 8 days of content that I post where it induces that FOMO with your audience of like, wow, she's on a Zoom call with who? Like, who is she talking to? And then I'm coming across confidently, hopefully, in that video, right? And then I just throw
Mhm.
on some moving captions. So I do that all the time. Like, if I'm tired of filming content or coming up with ideas, I just film a Zoom call, splice it into 10 videos, throw some captions on, schedule it out, and then I'm good to go and I can sleep on social media, which is nice.
I love that. I'm so curious, like what your backup storage systems look like because anytime I like record a Zoom call, I'm like, dang it, this is like a 60-minute like audio or like video file on my phone. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
taking up so much space.
When I bought my phone, one, I always run that as a business expense because I'm like, I'm a content creator. We're going to write off anything and everything. But I remember looking at the different storage options, and then like the maximum storage option that iPhone sells is like for the content creators. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to need that one. And I'm going to need 2 of those, please. And then I'm extremely organized when it comes to my Google Drive. So this is something I always go viral for, which anyone listening to this podcast episode should like watch the pinned video on my Instagram at Maureen's Marketing because it explains it better with visuals because me audibly explaining this might be a little confusing, but basically I have an automation set up where every single time I post a TikTok video, automatically it downloads in high resolution into a beautifully sorted Google Drive folder. And then from that Google Drive, I just drag and drop it into a Reels folder and a YouTube Shorts folder. So using this method, I've grown my personal brand past 100,000 followers from 0. And it's so simple because so many people make so many mistakes when it comes to repurposing content. If they go from Instagram to then TikTok and then they wonder why it flops. It's like because the TikTok algorithm can tell. But if you go from TikTok to Instagram and YouTube, I've gone viral on YouTube. One of my Instagram videos has over 15 million views, and it's a repurposed, slightly blurry TikTok video. I didn't even make it in Instagram, but because the automation's set up, I'm just able to download it and then post it there. So anyone that doesn't have their organization on their content down, that's key, but also just setting up a couple super simple automations, it's great because I know, okay, I can just log into that Google Drive, everything's there. And if I were to ever lose my phone or lose my laptop, or I mean, one of my friends dropped her phone off the side of a waterfall, and I always joke like that's gonna happen to me soon. Cause I mean, I was at a waterfall last week taking content. I'm like, I'm gonna drop it. But if that does happen, I'm fine because all 1,500 short form videos are saved in a Google Drive. And another thing business owners don't realize, I think, is you don't own your social media platforms in any way, shape, or form. I've had many clients and also friends just overnight, you can lose an audience of 100,000 because you get banned, you get taken down. I'm not scared of that ever happening because I have everything, every single piece of content backed up in high res on a Google Drive. So that's another thing to consider if you generate any sales from social media. You don't own your following. So like get your content somewhere else. And I know that if I had to restart from 0 tomorrow, 1, I have the skill set, so it wouldn't be hard to restart. But 2, I can just push out the content that I filmed over the last 3 years and be good to go.
Yeah, and I think that's something to like think about is like where are you acting like a small business versus where are you acting like a empire? Like where are you
Mm-hmm.
acting like a CEO of a 7-figure company? So like
Mm-hmm.
what you just explained with having like your backend systems, having it like backed up, knowing that you could start from scratch, that is a 7-figure entrepreneur business mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking like, oh, I don't need to like back this up because I'll just like post it and it'll be fine. that's a small business who's like not even making like 100K kind of mindset. And like you have
Yeah.
to ask yourself, like, what are you creating? Like, what is your intention behind what you're doing in your business?
100%. And any creator I work with that has 100,000 followers or even like in the 50,000 follower range, it's impossible to delegate if it's not in a Google Drive or a Dropbox folder. If you have all your content on your phone and you think, "Great, wow, I'm organized. I have 2 folders on my iPhone with content for my business." How are you going to onboard 3 new employees in 2 weeks and then have them be able to manage your social media? Like a lot of times I'm helping business owners train their employees that way they can get their social media content out more effectively. And the first thing I always fix is if the CEO has all their content on their phone, it's not going to work very well, right? So you need to get it into a different platform. That way it's really easy to automate. So like my team, like if I onboard someone new to my team, I'm like, great, copy and paste an email address into one folder. They've got access to everything and I can go back to booking another flight. Like it's so cliche in the entrepreneurship world, but like literally I can be on a beach with my laptop and I just copy and paste an email and I know that that person can schedule my content for me.
Yeah, the other thing I kind of want to mention here is like the difference between evergreen content and like now content, basically.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people make now content and they don't make a lot of evergreen content. And I think one
Mm-hmm.
of the things that you do so beautifully in your business is you make evergreen content so
Mm-hmm.
that at some point, if you ever had to like restart, it would still be relevant information. It would still be relevant content. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
a mindset switch for a lot of people is like, where are you basically creating content that like is only relevant this week versus relevant for like years and could
Mm-hmm.
live on for years.
That's key. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. So many business owners will post content that's oddly specific. And it's like, one, nobody relates to this week. Two, nobody's definitely going to relate to this next week because it's like some oddly specific trend or something where you're like, oh, let me just get on this trend. I call that sprinkle content with my clients of people get all stressed out about, oh my gosh, I need to have the perfect sprinkles. Like, this is trendy, it's sweet, it's cute. Let me focus all this attention on the sprinkle. And then they forget to bake the cupcake, which is the actual content. And I'm like, nobody's showing up to a bakery where they're just selling sprinkles, where it's these cute, trendy. You might have seen like the 1 second trends on social media now where everyone's just blinking and I literally want to lose my mind. Like,
I
bake the
hate
cupcake.
it.
And then if you want to add sprinkles, great. Add the trendy music on top, but your cupcake better taste good before you focus on the sprinkles.
Yeah, I love that so much. Like that's such a perfect analogy for what people are doing. I remember back in like 2021-ish, like when I really started getting into reels, because like I did a 30-day social media challenge. It was like a 30-day, like 30 reels in 30 days kind of challenge back in 2021. And that like
Mhm.
really kickstarted like me actually creating video content. And I
Mhm.
remember back then it was like the only thing you were supposed to do was trendy stuff. But the internet has changed vastly in the past 3 years, like
Yes.
around like what like is actually working. And I think that evergreen content is the way to, it's that to me is the way of the future.
Oh, for sure. And definitely speaking content, I'm huge on. I have a lot of clients that will go viral with short stuff. I've gone viral with short, trendy, 8 second, great video of you on a zip line with cute music and a text overlay. But nobody's going to form an affinity with you and want to hire you. Like people hire me as their coach because one, they either like the way I speak on social media or they don't like the way I speak on social media, which is great as well because I don't want them as my client because you should be liking my speaking content if you hire me because you're going to be speaking to me on Zoom calls, which is why like I'm huge on get your speaking content out. Even if it gets less views than the sugar, you're going to bring in better clients, more high quality clients. Using another food analogy, it really is like running like a steak restaurant of like if you're putting out that high quality really good content, people are going to keep coming back. But if you're only serving something that's like short, sweet, people, great, they consume it rapidly, but they're not coming back because they're not forming an affinity. And the other thing with having business owners post more speaking content is like then when you get a client on a call or you sign them in person, or like I helped a New York City wedding planner scale her business and she left her corporate job with that and she went full time in hers. But we had her posting a ton of speaking content because then when clients met her, they already knew her. They already know what she sounds like. They already formed an affinity. This happens with me all the time on Zoom calls when I have a new client application come through is they'll jump onto the call And then they're like, oh my gosh, like, and they repeat back my own life story to me 3 times over. They repeat back stories I don't even remember about myself that I told 2 years ago. And then they're like, great, can I sign for 5K? Like, let me hand you $12,000. And I'm like, they have what, 2 questions on sales objections? And then they feel confident paying that in full or in like a structure over the next 2-3 months because they already know you. But nobody's going to feel confident if you're posting a video of you, 2-second video of you taking a photo at a wedding or 2-second video of you painting a picture. Like, nobody's going to feel confident handing you $12,000 off that reel.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's really funny because I actually, when I was a wedding photographer, I was doing video content and I would actually have clients who would literally verbatim repeat back to me something I said in either a reel or an Instagram story or something that I said inside of my content, like maybe it was written content. They would be like, exactly the words that I said. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, I guess I did say that. The thing is that like, if you're not even putting that content out, you don't even have the like possibility of that experience.
You're missing out on so much income and also affinity. Like, we are in the opportunity of a lifetime right now because it's never been easier to grow a personal brand than it is today. A lot of times people will tell me like, oh, Maureen, I'm too late on TikTok. I should have started 2 years ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no. Keep this in the 100-year mindset of in 100 years from now, I think everyone's going to want the job that we work of like, okay, you make money talking about what you're passionate talking about online. And I think in honestly 10 years from now, it's going to be near impossible to grow a following because everyone will be trying to become a creator. Right now is the best time to start. So anyone listening to this episode, like the second you finish this episode, take out your phone, record 5 videos because it is really easy right now. Even though you think, oh, I'm 2 years behind the internet boom. No, you're not. You're still at the very beginning.
Yeah. And I think there's also like a conversation to be had about seasons. Like I am not currently in a season where I'm doing a lot of video content, like face to camera type of content. I'm doing a lot of like behind the scenes and I'm doing a lot of like, you know, when I did a branding session, I'm using those videos. That's what the season I'm in is currently. But I am well aware that the season I will be entering into will have face to camera video. So if you're currently like, oh, like I'm 2 years behind, stop it.
Yeah.
And walk into a season of, I am going to be in a season of trying to be like on camera. I'm going to walk into the season of skill building because that is going to serve you better than being in a headspace of I'm too late or I'm not good enough or I don't have the skill sets. There is so much free YouTube content. Maureen has an entire YouTube like that. I'm sure you have like videos on how to get started. Like there is so much free resources out there on how to build the skill sets you need. You just have to get out of your own way and stop thinking you're somehow behind because what if you are actually perfectly on time?
Yeah, you're definitely perfectly on time. Now is the time. Like that's why anytime I talk about doing crazy things like applying to Harvard as a joke or like applying for a 6-figure job when you might not feel qualified. It's like you will wait. What? You're going to give yourself 15 years. In 15 years, you're still not going to feel ready. Like, that's why I've applied for 2 TED Talks and gotten rejected because I'm like, I don't feel ready to give a TED Talk at all. But I know if I did get accepted at a TED Talk, they've got some speaker resources I can read and then I'll figure it out. I was just talking to someone in the Instagram DMs and he was mentioning the book Ready, Fire, Aim. And I think that's so spot on with how people need to create content of like, don't wait till you feel ready. You're never going to feel ready. When I first started my TikTok account, 0 followers, I had to ask my little sister, hey, like, can you please help me log in? I don't understand. Where's the record button? How do I use this? And like, now I have over 40,000 followers on TikTok. But at the time I remember thinking, I'm never going to be a TikToker. Like I thought TikTok was the definition of cringe. I was like, this is a horrible platform. I was like, it's dancing teenagers, it's people that waste their time. But then I just started posting and then I was signing so many clients. So definitely just start, fire before you aim. And then afterwards, you can always clean it up. Like take that messy action, apply to get into Harvard, apply to give that TED Talk, post 10 videos, even if you don't feel like you're perfectly ready, because one of those videos could go on to get 1 million views. All the time, I've almost not posted a video. Like one time I filmed a video on an airplane and I got off the plane and I was like, I'm not going to post this. It's a little blurry. The quality's not good. There was turbulence. I was like, you know what the heck? I'm on a vacation. I don't have time to refilm that. Hit post. It went on to get over 300,000 views. I was signing multi-$1,000 clients like over the course of that trip. And it's just like, post the blurry video. It can literally change your life.
I love that so much. Like I completely agree. And like it's so interesting to hear like you talk about like the things that you did that you were just kind of like, I have no idea if this is gonna work out. Because
Yeah.
that kind of mindset will get you so far in life. And I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people get scared. They think like, oh, well, like I felt that way when I was younger, but I don't anymore. And what I want you to hear is that you get to plug into that mindset wherever you are, at whatever
Mm-hmm.
age you're at. Like you get to plug into that mindset of why not me?
Mm-hmm.
Why not now? Like, why not just try it? Like, the worst that could happen is you get rejected. Okay, cool. Keep going.
Exactly. And you're in the same place you started. Like when I got the email back from TED Talk that they rejected me, I'm like, amazing. Yesterday I wasn't giving a TED Talk. Today I'm not giving a TED Talk. The Dr. Phil show was going to fly me out for an interview and they canceled it last minute. And I got that email in my
Oh,
inbox. And initially I was like, oh, geez, like that was a huge opportunity. And like I thought that for like 2 seconds. And then I was like, wait, no, what the heck? I just got an entire weekend back. And last week, or 3 weeks ago, I wasn't supposed to be on the Dr. Phil show. So I'm in the same place I was 3 weeks ago. I didn't lose anything at all. And it's like, that's why one time I pitched a client on a $12,000 a month contract. I knew that that was pushing it a bit for what we were delivering on that specific contract. And the guy said no. He was like, oh, that's a little more than I expected. But I did that. And like now when I pitch a 6K contract, I'm like, psh, this is nothing. Whereas like 3 years ago, I thought making $30 an hour was crazy. And now I'll just get on Zoom calls where it's like over $1,000 an hour to talk about content automation or rejection. But the only way I got there was you set the goal at a level crazier than you anticipate. And then if you fall in an insanely successful area. Like I wrote on my vision board, earn enough money in my business to buy a white BMW. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like that's never going to happen. And I was like, if I fall and I just buy a new Nissan Rogue, like I'd be happy with that. But like literally a couple months ago, bought the BMW with the money from my business. And I'm like, if I didn't write that down as the intention, like I'm not huge on like hippie manifestation stuff, but like seriously, if it's not written down, it's not going to happen. So write down the crazy goal. And then all you have to do is take the action to get there. Maybe it takes 5 years, maybe it takes 10 years, maybe it takes a week. But if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there.
yeah, because you can't take the actions towards the thing that they're trying to get towards. Like
Uh-huh.
if you don't know, then you're just taking actions with like no intention. So I love that you're like an intention setter.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And like anything is possible. Anyone listening to this that's like, oh geez, I'll never be able to have a following on social media that pours clients into my business on autopilot. You totally can. Totally can. You willing to commit a year of your life to creating? Great. Now you have 5 years of clients that come in if you commit 1 year. It's like a delayed gratification process though, because a lot of times people will post content. You're not going to sign a client the day you post that piece of content, probably. If you do, that's remarkable. Wow, like I need to hire you as my content coach. But like you'll get paid 6 months later, 3 months later. Or like I'll sign a client today that watches a YouTube video I posted 2 years ago. So it really is plant the seed now and then you harvest in a few months.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like I actually have had clients who like they started following me 3 years ago on social media and they're just now hiring me for 10K and 20K. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I'm just going to keep going. One of the things I want to talk to you about is like what is your system for idea generation? Like especially around evergreen content and making sure that it's not that sprinkle content that we were talking about at the beginning of this.
Yeah. So what I do for evergreen content, I've got 2 or 3 methods for this. The first method is Google, and it's oddly specific. So I will Google a question an ideal client asked me. For example, I'll Google how to post 100 videos a month. And then this is genius. Like when I saw this on Google, I was like, why is every content creator not doing this? There's always on Google the drop-down menu of people also ask. Google's put probably millions of dollars into manufacturing this system so it brings up the most relevant searches. So in your industry, let's say you're a wedding photographer that works with, young couples who are getting married on a beach, oddly specific, but just Google, okay, think about what is that wedding like couple going to Google? They're going to Google like, do I need to hire a photographer that's local in Hawaii or can I fly someone in? So they might Google that. And then you see people often ask, you look at those 15 drop downs. You can keep hitting the drop down. You'll get 100 ideas. They're all phrased as questions. Then all you need to do is take out your phone literally while you sit in front of your computer, and you, as the industry expert, you just answer all those most commonly asked questions. So I'll literally just go through that list and I'm like, here's how I got over my fear of rejection in 3 steps. And I just look at what are people Googling, and then I just answer it. And then the other way I come up with like unlimited content ideas, anytime a client asks me a question on a phone call, I will try to write that question down if it's a good one, and then I just film the answer. And then the third way I come up with idea generation for content creation is rinsing and repeating virality. So anytime I posted a video on social media that gets like, I'd say over 10,000 views, maybe if you have a smaller account, anything that gets over 1,000 views, I'll just repeat the exact same video with a few changes. I've done this with the rejection therapy series of like, the first video got 20 million views. So I was like, let me manufacture this, created a series. And then that series was getting me like thousands, still is getting me thousands and thousands of followers, because you just, if you've ever had success in the past with content, just recreate that video in a slightly different format. So now I know for the next 5 years, I could just recreate videos and answer Google's commonly asked questions and film answers to what my clients ask. And that's how I come up with so many ideas that are targeted to bring in even more sales.
I love that so much. Like, would you say like there's certain things that you wish you'd focused on sooner with content creation that you are currently doing now?
I think when I started, I'm glad I took the messy approach of uploading 3 videos every single day for months, and I was sending like outbound DMs, and I was like, I am throwing as much out there as possible. We'll see what sticks, and then we rinse and repeat. I think I could have told myself that like, hey, you're going to make it. You don't need to kill yourself working 13 hours a day. And I could have slowed the success process a little bit, which I know sounds like the answer to one of those job interviews where it's like, what's your worst trait? Oh, I work too hard. Like, okay, that nobody likes that answer. But I think I would have told my younger self, like, you don't have to post 10 videos a day. That's fine. You don't have to work 12 hours a day, because like, if you just stick with it consistently, it's going to take off. And just know that like, the biggest thing that separates my clients who are making like tons of money from social media from my clients that maybe they get discouraged after 6 months and then they're like, oh, I'm not going to post, is sometimes people ramp up too fast, where they go from 0 to 60 and then they burn out and then they never touch social media again. It's like, it really is like going to the gym. Don't pull a muscle when you first start doing content creation, because then you don't want to come back because you feel injured. So like, start slow and then ease your way up in frequency and see how far you can push it. So like, instead of going and trying to run a 6-minute 50 mile, run a 10-minute mile, then run a 9-minute mile, then an 8-minute mile. Like with content, just ease up, figure out where the pain is. And if you feel pain when you're posting, that's good. That's where the success is. Because if you're feeling pain, other creators also feel that pain and other creators are quitting. So anytime I'm like knee deep in editing a video and I'm like, this is miserable, I would rather be spending time with my family. Like, I don't want to post this right now. I'm like, okay, Maureen, keep the why in front of like, I'll get to spend more time with family in my future. I'm building this for my future. Like, just get this posted. This is where people are quitting, and just get it out there, because that's going to help you be way more successful.
Yeah, I heard this recently of like, do the things now that in the future, like you're going to get to live the life that like not many people get to live. Mm-hmm. Like putting in the work now so that like you get to have that multi-million-dollar company if that's what you're aspiring towards. Also, really funny because I actually did pull a muscle this morning at the gym. I was doing deadlifts and like I went like the normal amount that I like wanted to go. I was at like 105 for deadlifts and I was like, this is great. I'm doing great. And then I like walked off the platform and I was like, oh no. But the difference between burning out and like quitting and somebody who is like in it for the long haul is like, I'm aware that I have an injury, which means that tomorrow I'm not going to do legs. It means that I'm going to do upper body and I'm going to keep going. And next week I'll do deadlifts again. And I will just be more mindful next time I do it versus like having the mindset of like, oh, pull the muscle. We're done. We're out. Yeah. Like that's, yeah. So I love this analogy because it's very, very relevant to today.
Yeah, 100%. That's like same thing with like batch creating content and figuring out when you have time. I went to the gym before this podcast interview and I was like, okay, well, I've got 52 minutes. And I was like, you know what? Let me cut this workout a little short, because I knew, okay, I don't have enough time. I've got more Zoom calls this evening. cut it a little short, and then great, I'm going to finish the second half of that set tomorrow. I'm not going to beat myself up over the fact that I didn't hit the full set to get day, because either way I'm hitting the full set. You can do the exact same thing with batch creating content. Great, you get a little bit busy on Friday, you have something come up that's more important. Great, don't put your phone in front of more important life activities. Like, you don't have to over prioritize it, but then the next day, just make sure you hit the benchmark of like, okay, you finished getting out your 2 videos a day or 1 video a day. And I always tell people, do not set goals in content creation. You're never going to hit them. Set bare minimum benchmarks. That's what you'll hit, right? Like, where will you fall? That's what you hit, not the goals, because the goals aren't going to happen.
We talk all the time in like with my clients about like minimum viable product. Like
Yep.
you need a minimum viable product. You need a minimum like standard operating procedure, because shit's going to happen. It just is, because we're like, life is going to life. So you need to have something to fall back on. So I love that you like basically have the same thing with your clients too.
Yeah, I'm like, just get it posted, get the benchmark, and like, literally, if I'm dying of the flu, I'm just gonna be like, and I got so much hate on YouTube for saying this. Someone's like, you don't live your life if you're prioritizing content when you're dying of the flu. And I'm like, well, this content is what pays for my house, so I'm gonna prioritize my job. Anyway, but like, at that stage, no, I'm not gonna film a video that day. I take one 10-second clip of B-roll of me on a plane or me on a client call, and I just throw a text overlay and hit post. Literally, it takes me about 15 seconds to put out a piece of content, and then that content can get 5,000, 10,000 views, and then maybe it generates a book sale. So it's like, they get in the mindset of like, content creation's so hard, because it is a little hard, but I like to remind myself, I'm not a guy in roofing right now. This is magical. I'm in air conditioning. I can record 3 TikTok videos. How great is life? I've got a glass of water next to me. Like, if you're complaining about posting content, like, I guess this is kind of the tough love section, but like, how great is it that you run a business that you can take out your phone, talk for 15 to 60 seconds, and sign a client? Like, that's incredible. So I just remind myself, like, okay, this doesn't physically hurt. It just mentally hurts. And I can deal with mental pain. So like, get it posted. It'll change your life.
I love that so much. And I feel the exact same way. Like, I look around at my life sometimes and I'm like, how freaking grateful. How incredible is it that like I had a 14-year career that I retired at the age of 30 from.
Yep.
And now I get to do whatever I want to with my day. If I want to go to the gym at 6 in the morning, I get to do that. If I want to spend $7 on a Starbucks drink, I get to do that. I get to spend my day talking to clients and business owners about how to make their life better. I get to talk to people on Zoom calls and Riverside calls. We're on a Riverside call right now doing a podcast episode. This is my freaking life. Like, how magical is it to be in the day and age and to be a woman in the day and age that we're in right now? Like, this was not available to like my cousins or mother or grandmothers or great grandmothers. Like, it just wasn't. And so I hold so much gratitude for what I am able to create. I hold so much space for the fact that like it just keeps getting better. I just keep getting to like build on top of what I've already created.
Yeah, it's such a magical time to be in, really, if you're just like, I mean, it's pretty sweet that you can just sit in the comfort of your home, spend time with family, record a Zoom call, and then that goes on to sign a client. Like, I totally agree. This has never been possible, and I do compare it to like the gold rush of like, we are in the internet gold rush. So if you're not like in this, or if you're not like taking part in some way, shape, or form, like, oh my goodness, just get a couple shovels in here just in case, right? And it's gonna pay off if you stay with it. And it's way more predictable than the gold rush. With that, we've got a lot of people that, okay, they don't make it out. But like with this, if you put in the reps, oh my goodness, it is so powerful.
Yeah. I think this is like a really perfect segue into like, how can people not only work with you, because like you have different places that people can work with you, but I also want to know, like, if someone is listening to this, they're like fired up and they're like, I want to go make content. Where should they go first?
So the first thing you should do if you're fired up to make content is go make the content. I don't want you looking at how to apply to work with me until the content gets filmed, right? I'm huge on get the action done, and then you can do the thinking, right? So first, when you finish this, make the content. And then for anyone that wants to work with me, Right now we're pretty full on group coaching, but I'm sure this episode goes out and in a few weeks I have a couple spots available. You can follow me on Instagram at Maureen's Marketing. Feel free to shoot me a DM too after this episode. Ask me any questions about your business. I'd be more than happy to answer those. Just make sure you say you're from a podcast episode because I get like 100 DMs that I don't read occasionally. So if I know it's from something that I've told you to DM me about, I will answer that. And then all the ways to work with me are linked in my bio. I've got books on how to get over your fear of rejection. But I would say for the people listening in this, probably group coaching is going to be best, of like working with me every single week on structuring your content, setting up the automations. So that would be where I would say people can benefit the most from.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom. I am fired up to go make content. And I love your like heart behind your business and like what you're creating and like how you're helping people. And I just hope that anyone who is listening to this was just as excited to create content. Like, please go follow Maureen. Like, I hope that you guys were like so excited to actually implement the things we talked about and also like recognize that like it's in your control. You can go do this today. It does not take you 6 months in order to like go post like one thing. You can go post something today.
Right now. Yeah, that's the best time to start. Thank you so much for having me on. No, I always love helping people make content easier.
Yay. Okay. Well, we will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you, Maureen, so much for being here. We really appreciate it.